Hi, boys and girls. I wanted to go over quickly, for those of you who weren't here on Friday, what you missed. I know because we're so close to the final, some of you are really nervous about it. Some of you aren't. That's okay. But there were three things that we did, and I wanted to make sure you were aware of them. So the first thing was that we took data on our bean seed, and you can get that from your group, which was the tropism. Okay, so we took data on our bean seed and then we turned it actually 90 degrees. And then we set up a turgor pressure lab. So what we did was set up turgor pressure lab. So what we did was we put some celery in a beaker. Okay, so, oh, I even have green. So we had some green celery in here, and we put it in purple. We put it in purple water, which was basically water that had purple food coloring in it. And you were supposed to make some sort of a prediction. So something along the lines of, if celery is placed in a beaker, of purple water over the weekend, then it will, and then that is supposed to be your hypothesis. So I did the if part, you were supposed to come up with the when part. And what we're supposed to lead you to that is that I told you that the definition of turgor pressure, which is on your review, so make sure that you have your review out right now so that you can write this down. So the definition of turgor pressure is the pressure exerted I got a new stylus and I think it's making noise against the screen, so we'll see once I record this. The pressure exerted on a plant cell wall by water through osmosis. So you all remember that the definition of osmosis is the diffusion of water across a semi-permeable membrane. I'm sure that you all remember that. Diffusion of water. So basically, all plants obviously are made up of plant cells. So you have these plant cells that are filling up with water, possibly, and you have water that's going in and out of the plant cell so that they can stay even, so that there can be the same amount of water on the inside of the cell as on the outside of the cell. So if too much water goes inside, then and this cell starts to kind of fill up with water, then water will come back out. If too much water is on the outside, then this cell is going to kind of start to shrivel up and water will go in so that it's even. All cells want homeostasis. So again, you want to make sure that you have the definition of turgor pressure, and just make sure that you rewind this video so that you can write that down. And then what we did was we looked at the review and we identified the words, the vocabulary words that we needed to know for the final, because at this point we are only going to study those words that we have to know. And those words were stomata, phloem, xylem, and I'll make it easier to see once we get to it. Two different kinds of root systems. They're fibrous and then taproot, and then 2 different kinds of seeds, and those are dicot and monocot. And just for clarification, this phloem and xylem, those are the vascular system, and that's kind of like our circulatory system. So technically there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 terms that you need to know, which isn't bad. And once you look at the diagram, you're going to be surprised how easy it is to remember them. Okay, so there's 2 types of roots, and we have taproot and a fibrous root. And once we get into the details of each, you're going to be able to tell the difference of them between them pretty quickly. So a taproot is where the primary roots grow straight down from the stem. So on your review, you are going to want to write taproot. It has the primary root that grows straight down from the stem. So it actually looks like that. It grows straight down. And some examples are carrots, potatoes, radishes, anything with a really thick root that grows straight down and doesn't branch out into these really fibrous, hairy looking roots. The next kind, obviously, are these more hairy looking things that spread out. These are called fibrous roots, and they are roots that spread out just below the soil surface. So that's what you're going to write for your definition on your review. Roots that spread out just below the soil surface. And when you look at pictures, it's going to be really obvious which is which. So, obviously, this is fibrous roots. These are fibrous roots. See how they're very stringy and hairy? This is a taproot. This is a taproot. These are fibrous roots. So, obviously, you can very easily tell the difference between the 2. Now, in discussing root functions, in class on Friday, every single class was able to come up with the 4 different functions of a root without even having to have me show this slide. Because we all know what the reasons are for roots, and I actually think that there's an easier way to write down these root functions. So what I said was you would write absorption of water and nutrients, transportation of water and nutrients, storage of water and nutrients, and stability. So you have all of these words, and that's really what this says. But really, let's see. So then, like I said, so it would be root functions. So, what did I say? Oh, yeah. So, absorb water and nutrients. Transport water and nutrients. How is all of that water and nutrient transport? How is all the water and nutrients going to get to the plant? Transport. Oh, that's an interesting way of spelling it. How's it going to get to the plant? It's just not going to just sit there and chill inside the root. So to transport the water and the nutrients, then what if it doesn't need that water yet? So it's going to store the water and nutrients. And then stability, so that every time there's a strong wind, all of those flowers don't go flying off into the wind. So root functions, that's a pretty easy one. Okay, so here's the slide that goes with dicot or cotyledon. No, I was close on the spelling. Not too bad. Okay, so same thing, dicot are seeds that have 2 parts. There's actually a seed coat, and you may have noticed if you were, you weren't here to take the drawing on Friday, but the outside of the seed kind of slips off. And these cotyledons are a food supply for the young plant. Okay, so when you think about a plant, so you think about, you've got the stem and the roots, and you've got the leaf and the flower, and the seeds oftentimes are in the middle of the flower here. Sometimes they're kind of coming off of the fruit of the flower. Sometimes the seeds are coming off here. And we've covered the roots, right? So let's see. So we've covered the roots. Okay. Now we need to cover the seeds. Okay, because the seeds are what is how the plants pollinate. It's also how the baby seeds or the baby plants get their food. So, for example, the beans that we're growing are how are they getting nourished? So we've got these beans right now that some of you they're not doing anything, unfortunately, and I'm sorry about that. But a lot of them, you've got this little dude coming out, and he's just kind of doing this, okay? But it's sitting on this paper towel, okay? And you've got some light from above here, and the paper towel is wet, okay? But where is it getting all its food from? There's no dirt to get the minerals from. The sun isn't providing food. The sun is supposed to be activating the chlorophyll, but where's it getting its food from? It's getting its food from the bean seed. Okay, this embryo is actually inside the bean. So that bean is actually said to have cotyledons, okay, and that's a mouthful. So you have two different kinds of seeds, okay, two different kinds of seeds. They are called dicots and monocots, and that's on your review. So just take a look at your review. Dicots and monocots, and that is short for two cotyledons. Ooh, I'm not quite sure if that's how you spell that. Or one cotyledon. I'm not sure. But we say two, the prefix for two is di, and short for cotyledon is cot. That's way easier. The prefix for one is mono, and obviously short for cotyledon again is cot. So we say they are dicot and monocot. Okay, and what do we mean by cotyledon? Well, the bean seeds that we have planted, that we have stuck on a paper towel. If you put your fingers in between them, you'll notice that you can actually kind of pop them open into these two pieces very easily. Okay, so there's almost like a seam down the middle, and you can pop it open almost like a peanut. Okay, so an example of dicot would be a bean or a peanut, okay? And those cotyledons are actually food for the little bean embryo or the peanut embryo. So food for the embryo. So where that food is getting its, or where that little plant is getting its food from that's coming out of the bean is actually from this part of the bean that it's coming out of. So that is called a dicot. So a monocot is one that you can't open so easily, and an example of that would be like a corn seed. So a corn seed, like when you're eating corn, you can't pop one of those open so easily. It only has one cotyledon, like I said, there's no seam that you can pop it open so easily. Okay, and here's the slide on monocots. It only has one cotyledon. It has a seed coat, but it doesn't come off very easily. It stays in one piece, and only one cotyledon surrounds the embryo. So that's really the only difference. So now if you look at the comparison, okay, what I need you to pay attention to is these two things, okay? We're not going to worry about, let's see, what this and this part and that, okay? What I want you to do is just pay attention to things with two cotyledons have a taproot, and plants with one cotyledon have fibrous roots, all right? That's the pattern, that's really the only pattern I want you to look at, is that one cotyledon plants have fibrous roots, two cotyledon plants have taproots. Okay, the last part of the parts of the plant that you need to know are the xylem and the phloem and then stomata, okay? So stomata is actually on the leaf, okay? So that's not actually on the stem. I don't want you to be confused by that. Let's just keep stomata in the back of our minds for a minute. So xylem and phloem, like I said, the xylem and phloem are the vascular system. So if any of you remember when we talked about the vascular system in our own bodies, we were talking about veins and arteries. So that is how we got nutrients around our body. Well, that's the same way as the xylem and the phloem. So xylem carries nutrients and water, okay, up to the stem from the roots, and phloem carries it down from the stem to the roots, from stem to roots. So let's get another slide, it'll be a little easier. Okay, so here's your stem, and xylem goes up, and phloem goes down. And I had a student a couple of years ago that said she remembered phloem because phloem flows down. That's how she remembered it, but remember that when we talked about roots, that they have to carry, not only do they absorb the water and the nutrients, but they have to carry, they have to transport the water and nutrients into the stem. Well, then how do they get it in there? The roots end right here. They don't go all the way up into the stem. Well, they go up through the xylem, and if there's any extra water or waste that has to leave the plant, it goes down through the phloem. So up the xylem, down the phloem. Okay? More vocab word you need to know is stomata. Okay? So in a plant, as you know, plants take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. Well, how do they do that? I don't know. There's no plant that I know that has this, there isn't like a giant mouth on a flower, that breathes it in, right? And then you kind of like breathes in carbon dioxide and breathes out oxygen. But actually there kind of is, you just can't see it. And it's hidden under a leaf, okay? So at the bottom of a leaf, so this is, let's say that's the top side of the leaf. At the bottom side of a leaf, okay, so let's just, why isn't this working? There we go. Pretend this is the underside of the leaf. There's like here, there's like a little, like a box thing, okay? And this would be the stomata. And that is where this gas exchange takes place. So in goes the carbon dioxide and out comes the oxygen. I just made up my own little molecule, didn't I? There we go. So that is the stomata. So let's just review, I don't want this video to go on forever, the vocabulary that you need to know for plants. All right, so Let me open it up again. It was right in front of me and then it went away. Let's see. So it was. Okay, stomata. Stomata was where CO2 goes in and O2 comes out. All right? And then we had phloem. That is where water and nutrients go up. Whoops. Oh my. They go down the stem, and xylem up the stem. Then we have, let's see, roots. And there are two types. There is fibrous and taproot. And let's see, fibrous are, they spread out just below the surface. And taproots straight down from the stem. And let's see, it's monocot and dicot. And then these are the seeds. And that was monocot, which was one cotyledon, and dicot, which was two cotyledons. And monocot are things like corn seeds. And they can't be split very easily. And dicots are things like the bean seeds, which we are cultivating in the classroom. I can't wait to see what they look like when we get back. So bean seeds, they split easily. And the cotyledons are used as food for plant embryo. So that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So we have stomata, which is how the plant breathes. Vascular system, which is how water and nutrients go up and down the stem. Roots, which is how nutrients get in and out of the soil. And seeds. And we've already covered tropisms. So for on level, you needed to know gravitropism and phototropism. And then pre-AP, you also need to know thigmotropism. And gravitropism, I'm sure you know, is gravity. Photo is light. Thigmo is touch. Ooh, I wasn't right. Tough, I guess. Trying to erase that. It's not letting me. Okay, well, it's touch. And remember that the word tropism means a plant's response to. And then we have, it can be positive or negative. So we can have a positive tropism or a negative tropism. We are going to talk about succession, primary and secondary succession on Tuesday. I will post a tutorial on that tomorrow or maybe even later tonight. which you are welcome to watch just to kind of get a head start. But you don't have to turn it in for the quiz grade on Tuesday, but it'd probably be a good idea to get started on it. So you should have everything you need for plants, and we're all set.